This is the Business Report, brought to you with the compliments of CIBC First Caribbean.
Former Central Bank Governor Dr. Delal Worrell says it is unlikely that the International Monetary Fund would require Barbados to devalue its dollar. He made the comment in response to questions about possible implications if Barbados were to enter an IMF program.
The IMF makes its calculations or its recommendations for exchange rates based on the measure that it uses of what it calls competitiveness. And that is a measure called the real effective exchange rate. And they actually publish, they don't publish it for Barbados because we don't agree with them. But they actually, I know what the calculation is. And in fact, the real effective exchange rate for Barbados has not appreciated, right? And it is when your real effective exchange rate appreciates, then they recommend the devaluation.
Well, he says the reason it has not appreciated is because the pound has lost value against the US dollar. Meanwhile, Dr. Worrell adds that a second reason a devaluation requirement is unlikely relates to importers.
So if you're finding that, normal staples and things that people need for continuing their business people are having to go to the informal market and buy those at an exchange rate which is seriously depreciated, that again is an indicator that the fund would take on board. So neither of those indicates the need for a devaluation at this particular point in time.
Well, having stated its position on the recent decision from the Fair Trading Commission regarding the proposed sale of the Barbados National Terminal Company, SOL is currently doing its own internal review of the FTC's assessment. That's according to SOL Caribbean's regional manager for the Eastern Caribbean, Roger Bryan. Responding to questions from the Business Report as to what happens next, Mr. Bryan notes that in addition to its internal review, SOL also plans to have discussions at some stage with government directly. He, however, did not attach a time frame as to when the review process and subsequent discussions are likely to be completed. Last week, the FTC finally handed down its decision on the proposed acquisition of the BNTCL by SOL. The FTC determined that the proposal, in its present form, would essentially be anti-competitive in terms of its likely impact on other players in the market. Well, let's take a look now at how stocks traded on selected exchanges across the region.
We get started in Jamaica, where Jamaica Broilers Group was the volume leader with 1,478,292 units, and they were followed by Supreme Ventures Limited and Radio Jamaica Limited. Now in Trinidad and Tobago, JMMB Group Limited was the volume leader with 68,255 shares changing hands for a value of $138,670.25, and they were followed by National Flour Mills Limited and Sagicor Financial Corporation Limited. And in Barbados, Fortress Caribbean Property Fund Value Fund was the volume leader, trading 30,000 shares at 50 cents each. They were followed by Sagicor Financial Corporation Limited and Fortress Caribbean Property Fund Development Fund.